Hey, evening, Jeff. Well, you know it's Jeff. All of you know it's Jeff. Trying something different with the lighting today. It's I've turned the overhead light off, the top one, and I've just got some not very precise lighting on my face. Still lighting the background the same, but because the overhead light's not on, it's probably going to be a fair bit different. But today, we're not really necessarily talking about mood, but mood, for lack of a better title. Maybe I'll just have MOO words for the titles for the next couple of days, because I don't necessarily have any specific titles in mind. But today, we're actually speaking of moving forward. Now, I've spoken about it before. I've made a point of saying that it's important to continue to move forward, even the tiniest steps, because you remember that guy that gave up? Yeah, nobody else does either. So I got a couple of quotes here from a couple of different people. To be honest, I've heard the quotes from some of them, but I have no idea who some of these people are. The first quote's from a guy called Earl Nightingale, who was a US author born in 1921. And the quote is, "Don't let the fear of the time it will take to accomplish something stand in the way of your doing it. The time will pass anyway. We might as well put that passing time to the best possible use." I've been saying for years that the only thing in life that is irreplaceable is time. I mean, like fingers, toes, heads, shoulders, all that stuff's probably irreplaceable as well. But there is a substitute for those things. But once time is gone, be it fleeting or not, you cannot get it back. So procrastinating, which is what seems to be my favorite pastime, is not beneficial at the end of the day. The time that I have left is most likely going to be less. Well, maybe not less, but it's never going to get greater. So the time that you've wasted will always get greater, or that you do waste will always get greater. The time that you have left, I mean, it depends on the continuum in which we're working. Do we have a set number of heartbeats? Do we have a set amount of life? Is there such a thing as destiny? Is there's such a thing as fate? So if we work on the assumption that there's a set time for the end of my physical existence, I'm getting closer to that time and further away from the time that I entered this world. So, I mean, I didn't make it darker to be all dreary. I'm just trying a different lighting thing. So then you've got some very famous people with some quotes. Now, whether these quotes are trite, because even one of my other videos was called Trite, doing the same thing over and over and over again, finding motivational, I mean, I don't have motivational posters up in the background, but finding motivational posters that people put up in their offices and stuff. I have film stuff on the other wall behind the guests, and then behind me down here somewhere I've got a guitar, and then all the Legos, a bunch of time that I've I don't know, is it wasted? It's good hand-eye coordination, good skills. Anyway, that's beside the point. So we get to Thomas Edison, who's said some things, because Thomas Edison, being the inventor that he is, and I will speak of him again, because there's a few inventors that have invented several things. Nikola Tesla for one of them. So whatever he was like as a human being, he had a way of thinking about things that enabled him to come up with ideas that other people hadn't had, or connecting two completely disparate ideas and joining them in a way that other people hadn't thought of combining them. I'd rate him up there with Da Vinci, who came up with a bunch of bizarre for his time. Now we don't really think much of it. But anyway, Thomas Edison. I am not discouraged because of every wrong attempt. I am not discouraged because every wrong attempt discarded is a step forward. So in the same vein as that is, I have not failed, I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. So at my place of employment, there's a guy who has a problem with his car, and he keeps replacing parts, and it doesn't fix the problem. Now, the procedure that he's following to find the fault is the only way that he can do it. The parts that he's replacing have either failed anyway or are going to need to be replaced because they're failing. Every time he replaces a part and it doesn't fix the problem, he says, I'm back at square one. And I went, well, you're not really back at square one, because you've fixed all these other problems, or all these other potential problems. So you haven't actually addressed, or you haven't actually managed to fix the problem that you're chasing, but you've staved off a bunch of other problems. It's something that you will not have to worry about down the track. So as much as he's thinking along the lines of, I've failed, I would have to say it's not a failure, it's just 10,000 ways that didn't work. Good on you, Tommy. Here's another one, and I didn't know the guy's name, but now I do. Do you remember the I liked it so much I bought the company, the Remington Razor ad? Well, that's this guy. His name is Victor Kayam. He says, even if you fall on your face, you're still moving forwards. And that's true enough, I suppose. I mean, you mightn't be moving forward for a little while after you've fallen on your face, but at least you'll get a really good look at the texture of the ground while you're there. And then my quote that I'm going to add to it, because I'm a bit of a cynic, is if at first you don't succeed, to hell with skydiving. So people always say things like winners never quit and quitters never win. It depends on the game that you're playing, I suppose. It depends on quite a few different things. In poker, sometimes it pays to quit. You fold, because the cards, unless you're really good at bluffing or really playing fairly ordinary players, the cards are the cards. They do a specific job when combined in a specific way. Continuing to play a hand that is literally nothing doesn't benefit you, but you might win the war even if you lose the battle. Sometimes we need to pick the battles that we try to win in order to get to where we're going. It's not necessarily complicated, but I think we have two disparaging problems at the same time going on in most of our lives. We think things are really simple and we treat them as if they're really simple, but things are really, really, really complicated, and sometimes they're not as complicated as we think, but we treat them as if they're really, really complicated. It's sometimes really hard to mesh the complicated and the simple together, but sometimes there is no complexity in something. It's a do or do not. What was it? Youre, here's a quote. Youre, he says, do or do not, there is no try. I'm paraphrasing. I could be 100% correct. I don't really know. Sometimes, well, the only thing that I know of that trying is a description of success is in rugby. So you'd think it would be called a succeed, not a try, but whatever. And then you've got Australian rules football, where you basically score some points even if you miss. Again, you'd think the behind would be called a try because you tried, but you missed. Strange. But English is strange. People are strange. When you're a stranger. So that's really all I've got to say tonight. I've while I was here trying to put this together, it was slightly more complicated when I started to put it together. I've just been reading a couple of posts on social media, and a couple of these people that I am associated with or that I know or who I like have been given bad news about the state of their business for no good measure other than draconian decisions placed upon them by the authorities. So it sort of put me in a bad mood. Maybe that's why I called it mood, although I called it mood before that. Anyway, everyone have a great evening. Keep doing what you can do. Keep trying to move forward, even if you're being held down or held back or help, I'm being repressed.
Shut up! Oh, come and see the violence inherent in the system! Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
It's important that we be true to ourselves, and if we don't really know who we are, if we don't know who we are as a person, that we make an effort to discover who we are, because sometimes we pay too much attention to what other people say or what other people are doing. It can be a little bit disconcerting for us, and it cannot really get us where we want to be. Sorry, I got sidetracked. There was something I was meant to put on my screen before, and it was the unladen airspeed velocity of a swallow, which is 32.347 kilometers an hour. I mean, that's not gripping a coconut in its claws, but that is the unladen airspeed velocity of a swallow. I don't know whether that's African or European, and I don't know if African or European swallows have different airspeed velocities. Anyway, be good to yourself, be good to others. Have a great evening, and that's pretty much that's all I've got to say about that. I mean, there was one thing that I needed to add. It's not that important that I add it, but it's actually quite a good quote from a guy called Zig Ziglar. Well, he's not actually called Zig Ziglar. Somehow he got called Zig Ziglar. His name's Hilary Hinton Ziglar. He was born in 1926. He's a motivational speaker, amongst other things. But this is quite a I don't know, inspirational quote, which is, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. I think that's quite an important thing to remember, that if you don't have a go at something, you're not really a failure, you're not really anything, because you didn't have a go. So maybe we should just get amongst it.